next meeting to allow the public opportunity to address the board. During this time, individuals may share comments or requests related to both agenda and non-agenda items. Those addressing the board ask to limit their comments to 2 minutes per meeting. Speakers should identify their name, whose affiliation, if any, make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve the concerns informally or through the district's complaint policy. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner as the speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards on the table by the issue floor. Is there anybody here for open forum? Alright, then at this time we'll move down to item 3.01, conduct facilities update. Back here.
All right. All right, good afternoon, and we're going to start before we jump in with some introductions to make sure we know everyone who is participating today. So when I call your name, if you can just wave, I'm not going to introduce ELT, but those with us today, other than ELT, we have Stephen Jones. All right. I think I all know Steve and Gary. Gary presents more than I do. We've got Michelle, all right, Kelly Doyle, all right, Scott Powers. So, and then Dan Phillips. So Scott and Dan are the new project managers that are working for us. So we appreciate you all being here. Aubrey Moses from Huckabee. All right, Susan Smith. And Keith Cummings and Rebecca Gallagher, all from Corby. All right. And then David Tapia is here with us too. I think I got all non-L. Alejandro's here to take care of our technology needs. So this is a new meeting or an extra meeting that we have added. We split our regular facility long-term planning meeting into 2 meetings. And we're going through such a massive bond, we really felt like we had to separate those. So while we still have to vision for the future, we really have to stop and take some time to go through the current bond projects. The other thing is, Josh puts together his PowerPoint updates, and we're so happy to see his 50 to 60 slides at a board meeting. But what is today, Josh?
We're down to 170.
175. All right. And he's not kidding when he says down to, because I thought we were over. We weren't at 2. So we're going to get a chance to really take a look, ask questions. What do you need to know? Stephen's going to give us some updated numbers, make sure that we're all on the same page. And then we have a couple other items to go through. We have technology. There's some quick updates on some other projects. Josh is going to talk to us about our next condition assessment. Remember, we relied heavily on that facility assessment last time we went out to bond. Not saying we're ready to go out to bond, but we need to know where we are. And especially, we've asked David to do a lot of advanced planning. We need to make sure that those replacement cycles in that planning is aligned with what we see on the condition of the buildings. All right, very good. And then David will go through some of the results of that work he's done, and then Deanne's going to do an update on signage. Before we do jump into Josh's first, I'm going to ask, I got a quick update I need from Deanne and a quick update from Joey. So Deanne first. Deanne's right there. Okay.
We had the extreme privilege of hosting Channel 11 at a media interview situation with our coffee shop. And it's the one that we are in partnership with the City of Hurst, our special ed department, and Dr. Reed came and was interviewed today. And then also we've gone by a couple of times, and if you haven't made it by the coffee shop in Hurst, I don't know if you know where Debbie's Coffee Shop used to be, but it's right next door. And they have done a beautiful job. We are talking about getting student music to come and play at certain times in the evenings. I haven't been there where there weren't about 3 or 4 tables full. So
It's not even officially open though.
it's not. We're still soft opening, but
This soft opening sounds fairly crowded.
but we are going to have a story posted on Channel 11 next Tuesday or Wednesday. They're not exactly sure when that's going to be, but thank you, Dr. Reed, for doing that. And they even got video of a couple of the Mark kids doing their thing and being baristas. So just wanted to share that with you.
This is a neat project, and we really have to do a huge shout out to Chris and the city of Hurst on this one. This is pretty cool, and I'm excited. I had a meeting with PCC today, or I'd have been over there when the news was there, because this is exciting.
Is it gonna have a name besides the coffee shop?
It's just the coffee shop, and they've got a logo. I know that our CTE department, our CTE academy has been working with their graphic arts and creating that logo. One other thing that Darla just told me, and I'm kind of putting her on the spot, but I think it's going to work quite well. Our 6th grade art teachers are talking about utilizing the walls and decorating with some of our student art. So this partnership is pretty exciting.
Yeah. And then Toby has a quick update.
Real quick. After many months, not even been a year, of steady appreciation and working, today we signed off, we are the owners of 1,500 Norwood. Today.
Oh, yeah,
We own that property. We'll be working with Josh and kind of see what our next steps are, what we're going to do. But that's going to give us a really valuable piece of property on the southwest corner of Middle High School. And then on the 27th, David Lester, our realtor, he will be coming to the board meeting for closed session. So talk through all other things real estate.
All right, very good. Thank you all. Okay, so at this time, as it is referred to, not a partial, but a full construction update. That's right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I know what Dr. Joe set me up as. He said the governor's off and no handcuffs. So we are, and it is 175 slides, but lots of pictures. Okay, so it's not an information dump other than just me giving you updates. All right. So district priorities, we are aligned with all the different priorities. One I would like to point out too, I read an article just this past week on family and community partnerships. We did talk about when we were selling the bond and to promote it, that doing this bond and updating our high schools and what the impact that was going to bring to real estate in our area. And so WFA had an article, and we were looped in with HEB, the grocery store, and the old watercolors. I can't remember what the name of that is now. Water tank. That's it. All that put together, and they had some clips of some of our construction. So, talking about the impact of what's going to happen to our area, we're part of that. So, definitely think that that's more noted than what we thought that was before. Project updates. Now you do see we put all of them back in. I did notice today that we're missing one up there, but these are all the ones are completed because we haven't had a chance to step backwards. Some of you had an opportunity to go and look at some of the ones that we have completed, but we're going to take a step back and look at some of those as well. Okay. All right, so the 2100 award, also now it's been named as the Debbie Williams Activity Center Award because we can't do anything without an acronym. It's also called the DWAC. But we finished that up, and if you remember, we did a very light remodel on it. We've gotten a lot of compliments about this when I tell them we bought that over. And someone, I didn't know you did. Someone said, well, I knew something changed. They're like, it looks so much better. And then they say our name on the side, so everyone's been really impressed. One thing we did notice too is that we do need to we're going to put some bollards right here. Because for some reason, everybody thinks that's a drive-through.
Some what?
Bollards, the poles that come up to keep you from driving up there. All of a sudden, everybody thinks that they can do a drive-through on the front of our building. So we're trying to keep it from being a drive-in and just keep it there. So you will see something like that. Okay, so we did complete that, and you can see that May of last year, and you see a little bit of light through here. We tried getting some updated pictures. Was trying to show one with everybody moved in. But we do have the cold plunge, hot plunge. We did update the pool, if you remember that. Top right corner, you see we infilled. If you ever been in a 24-hour fitness, there was always the hole or the big escape through there. That's all been infilled, and I'll show you a picture in a second where gymnastics is there. Top left, that's the entrance to the building. So we really did a heavy piece on that very front building side of the area, very, very light. And this piece in the middle, I want to point out that too. So before, when we talked about Bell High School and the golf simulators, you asked, okay, could we go ahead and buy all of those? And so if we buy something with technology, 3 to 5 years, it's going to be outdated. But we would like to get the scale of economy by buying that. So here's what we're going to do. So Trinity, we're moving the building this summer. They will get their golf sims, they'll go into place. What we found is Scott has worked this out to where we're going to be able to put those golf sims for Bell in this portion of the building, working with Mike Fielder and Athletics. So they'll get those installed in there, and they'll be able to use those at the same time Trinity's getting ready to use theirs. They'll just have to come over to the David Williams Activity Center. And so we'll put it in there. Also, when we did that for the bid, I asked them to add just a little bit extra in, so that when they put it in turnkey, they will also then turnkey take it out and install it in the new building. So that way we're not having anybody else touch those. And now upstairs, on the far left, you can see we already have a tumble floor mat over there. Athletics moved in not last week, but the week before last. This is the runway for the vaulting. Now you'll see at the end there's mats against the windows. It's funny to watch Sean and Debbie kind of go back and forth. Debbie really likes this because she goes, oh, the view, they're vaulting right into the, Sean's a little more apprehensive, so he had mats put up there. It was all measured out. We're fine. It was just something that he was doing. So we will look at putting a net up there just as a precautionary. And on the far right-hand side, you can see we moved all the equipment over. Some of this came from different places. Some of it is from the purchase of the building. Also, purchase of the building we just closed on. One of those, they had some equipment left in there, some dumbbells and a workout machine. We went ahead and reallocated that and put it in there. Okay, and as you can see before, nothing like 1990s pink. I call it the wedding colors because I think every wedding in the 1990s was forest green and mauve or pink of some sort. But then now we're here to the finished product. All right, now to Hurst Junior High. It's all completed. We're working to close out the final bits on that. This right here, the addition. So front office area, and also remember, we didn't just add on to the front of the building. We did a remodel in their office area, and so that's what part of this is as well. See, we took some of the area in the back and we opened it up, the old workroom, and became a PD space. All of this is actually on the right-hand side. It is the front office, looking back into the principal's office area. And off to Fabulous there. So remember, I would beat Joe up on this one. I'm making sure, I think I told the lady back in my groceries the other day to make sure she understood this. That color is wrong in that building. It was by design, it is by plan, and we will change it out this summertime. So anybody will listen, I will tell them the story of it, but it's this summer we'll come back and take care of that. But outside of that,
remember, we're telling you the green. If you've gone by the building, you notice that there's a bunch of green on the front. That should be the bronze. And we had those troubles, that came in damaged. We had to get open. The green is there. It does. Building looks great. That green is going to come off at some point. It will all be bronze. Not that bright green.
Not that bright.
It's that some of the bronze right now has been replaced with a dark under green, and it's just not consistent. Like having a little green isn't a bad thing. It just doesn't.
The real challenge became is people started liking it so much they think that's what stayed. We're like, no, don't get too attached. It's coming off. We're going to change this out. But the good news is too, today was the first day of DAP keys and being in the building. We still have a few things to work through. It's just like moving into a new building. We also moved the clothes closet in last week, from 16th and 17th, so they're in place as well. And then you'll see about the old Bell High School a little bit later here in a minute. But everything is out and we're all in place now. Just a few pictures. This is the clothes closet area. So coming in the doors there, we'll sort plenty of space. On the far left-hand side, we've got actually 2 washers, 2 dryers. For all those, and some carts, offices, classrooms. See, this is a multi-purpose room, it's for art. See the tile? And this is one of the workrooms. We have, I think, 3 throughout the building. The one picture I wish I could get in here is that Julie and I had the privilege of taking Dr. Ballou over to and be able to walk the building with her. We got 2 really cool shots. One of her sitting in her dedicated office in the corner of the building, and the other was her standing in front of the sign that says, you know, Faye Ballou. So if you all know Dr. Faye Ballou, she was very proud, but also very humble. And so she almost did. And I love what Julie did. She turned to all these construction workers standing there, and she's like, "Hey, you need to understand, this is Dr." And they're all like, "Okay."
This is the Faye Ballou, is what I said.
And so we're like, whatever, I guess so. We're like, no, this is the Faye Ballou. This is a name on the building. This is that person. And they're like, "Oh, okay, that's kind of cool." So it was a great opportunity to be able to do that.
Great job, dude.
The staircase, if you remember, we needed, I don't know if you were, those of you who did the tour, the stairs had about the same consistency as a castle in old France. So we put 2 new towers on there. This really looks great. Some more classrooms. And the restrooms. One on the right is elementary, DAP. The one on the left is secondary. Designed so that we can help, monitor those restrooms at the same time to have privacy. And those of you who have been to the building before and got to walk it, does any of this even look closer familiar to what you saw before? No, even Julie walked it was like, this just doesn't make sense. This doesn't even look like a park before. So conference room, this is actually on the 4th floor where the teacher's lounge is at. So we turned that into that. So this is the 4th floor. It looks totally different. We maintained most of the kitchen to be able to help out there. Did have to modify it so it met ADA requirements. And we were able to add in some cabinetry on the far left-hand side just behind us here. The nurse's office downstairs. So I'd like to give a shout out to her as well. Michelle was saying that of the people on the move, she would probably take a Miss Congeniality Award. She was so excited, so happy, and so positive about being in her space. She just thought this was just the greatest thing ever. So we just give a shout out to her. And we were trying to get a more recent picture in here, cleaned up. But this is the new auditorium, which was there. We just took the seats out. I said too, Rochelle would probably be punching me in the kidney because she loved that carpet, that red carpet so much, but we had to take the carpet out. And,
too much padding in it.
Yeah, it felt like walking around in a conference center at a hotel or something like that. But I had this all in. We now have acoustic panels on the walls, and it's all nice and cleaned up.
Josh, what's that
Yes, ma'am.
seat? What's the number on that? I kept passing it, the seats.
192. 192, yeah, just under 200. So off to her stills.
Just real quick, the stage itself is pretty small, but we definitely, it could serve some additional functions. We thought about some parent training presentations and different things like that. But it is a nice little auditorium with almost 200 seats. And so we'll continue to allow, have Christine come and look, is there something we can do? But the stage itself is not very big.
Very shallow.
Very shallow.
But the seats are wider than what we have. All right, first stills. So this will be closing up this summer. We should be, Kelly's done a very good job, and I'll tell you which ones are tight and which ones we got plenty of room on. This one's going to be tight this summer, so it'll look a lot like it did with Oak Ridge Terrace. As soon as we're out with the kids, then we'll get the teachers out. We will start to move. We are going to move move everything inside. We'll actually go to Donna Park Gym. So we're going to put it in there because we have a little bit of overlap. We need to start taking down the school and get it out of the way while we get ready to put everything back in there and get that stuff in. So to make sure we have a little bit of play, that's what we're going to utilize. Move right along with the school. You can see most of the masonry is done. We are closed up and in the dry. They're working on all the finishes on the inside. This is not Dr. Joe's bass fishing pond. This is actually one of our detention ponds. It's going to be over there. The best way to put it in was to be able to build the retaining walls and then backfill all of that. This doesn't look like much to a lot of people, but to me, this is a really good site because we have the screen in, but that transformer, that green box is live. So we are actually on live power and we're not waiting around for encore, which a lot of times it can be. And in the storm shelter enclosure for the generator is actually sitting inside there ready to go. So that's one of the things that is can slow us up. A lot of the masonry you can see here, really coming right along. All the roof is in. RTUs are already on top. Sorry, Matt, there's no get to watch those fly in. The hallway heading down. So this is looking down to the cafe or cafeteria, and a few classrooms on the left. The storm shelter is on the right. Offices. Then we're looking into the library. We'll step inside the library, and so we've got a video wall over on the side. All the lights facing out to the front. See the librarian's office in the back. The reading cubbies on the wall. Really like this tile. This red here on the left, but on the right, it's kind of hard to see, but that's actually a dark blue, a navy blue with a wave in it. Really looks nice.
Yeah, go back. Okay, I see it. I saw the red, and then the red, and the navy blue.
Back over there.
I see it now. I was like, all right, he's already done.
I'm colorblind. And we also have the wood. This is another color that's inside. It's a tile that's inside some of the restrooms. And then we have the wave, kind of wavy. It's about the same as the blue, but in a white in the kitchen. So the subway tile in the back. So this is a good site too to see the kitchen's already coming along and ready to go. So, sorry. Cafeteria looking back out. So the stage is to my left and looking out to the drive on the right hand side. The kind of this is the core part of the education building or education wing. You see where our little cushion seat. We got the little cubbies in there. The restrooms are in the right hand side.
How are they decorating that?
Aubrey, is this? I couldn't remember on this one.
I didn't hear the question.
The decoration on the column.
Oh, it will be wrapped to look like a tree.
So falcons, and then I do know on midway it looks more like a palm tree.
Yeah.
Inside the storm shelter, we are got our bulkheads in. Everything started to get painted up. Nice little shot from the back. This is really to illustrate. I use this one at some conferences to show about working on the same side with your school, to seeing the pathway around the building, and we're going to have to take the other one out and put the new parking lot and playgrounds in place. Those questions came up about these trees. We're going to do everything we can. We can't promise they won't come down, but we're going to do everything we can to try to protect those, pull the building away, put the parking lot in, and see if we can maintain those. As you can see in the parking lot will angle away from a little bit. Okay, midway park. Now this one's going to be a little bit different. It should be finishing up October, the first part of November. We're looking at the nice thing about this is we want to run this building before we actually move into it. It'll give us a little bit of opportunity on that. But the nice thing about Midway is they will get their building, their parking lot, their playgrounds, get everything. When it says site estimated completion in 20, don't forget we took the 2 fields out. We got to take the old school down, put the new fields back in. So actually a nice opportunity there. So one thing we learned on here that has helped us with some other construction, we were able to do ICF, this insulated concrete form, the blue stuff. Usually we could only go 1 story. You had to pour it, you had to put the steel in, and then you could go off again. By going multi-stories has allowed us, basically you have less mobilization, which lets you go faster. So it's allowing us to go all the way. So one day, like you said, all right, so we got the 1 hall. All of a sudden, come back 3 days later, we have a whole building. It's no having to wait to get to that next stage. So we've been able to come all the way up and go ahead and pour the floors and put the steel in all at one time. Nice little shot. You can see that we literally take up everything from 157 to the corner of Hector. Kind of construction impact over there. Retaining walls, don't forget, I mean, it is pretty towering. We already know we're going to be on Hector, you're going to be looking uphill. But to look uphill and then look up another 2 stories. Steel's going in. We also already have the storm shelter, it's all in place. The interesting thing here is the amount of strategy is to get our cranes in and out. So actually these are being disassembled and pulled out, that's reassembled, put back in. Storm shelter. This is the cafeteria area. You can see the kitchen just back in here. That little recess is your freezer cooler. Already putting the roof on. Should be finishing up steel probably in a couple weeks.
Josh, what is that elevation difference from the back to the football field?
Go back one second.
Are you saying back here? In the back side?
To the Trinity's football field.
Actually we dropped, that retaining wall is dropping down.
No, the school's on the high side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it might be 8 to 10 feet at the highest point.
And as you can see here too, we have a retaining wall coming around this front. They'll be able to hold all that back there. So eventually this lane, the bus will come this direction, come up, and once this building comes down, it'll turn and go to the parking lot that sits behind the fields. Getting ready, so once they get this, you see all the gray, once that's all finished, we're ready to start putting the brick on there. So you should start seeing the color come out here pretty soon. And that'll be our finished product. You can see on the high side over here, this is the detention area. It's also one of those where we say community relationships. We've had challenges with runoff on that side of the campus, going through some of those yards in that's just to the north of us. So this is really helping the city out to help out the citizens.
So we talked about the elevation change. Yeah, this is a good picture to look at. From Midway Park and that parking lot to the football field, I'm just wondering if that could, if we had a sidewalk. Have we talked about a sidewalk between the new parking lot there and that side of all the way around to the football field?
Yes, we have talked about that because when we said that at Trinity before, all the parking base was on the west side.
Right.
Or you had a little bit on the D lot, but that was the majority of all the parking. What's gonna happen now is we now are able to start spreading parking all the way around.
Right.
So we do have the practice fields, we have the tennis complex,
Right.
we have softball.
Right.
I was over there for the.
But they're not as close to that
No.
football field.
Yeah, but we still were trying to utilize that if we could as well. Because the playoff game for Alito and Midway, I think it was, or Crossford, that, I mean, we were all down in the churches, they were parking over at the post office. So they basically all of our parking was off-site for that one game. So we'll be able to pull some of that on the site.
But would we, I mean, that would require not just a gate, but stairs, right?
There's some ramping, some stairs maybe, but probably I would try to ramp everything if I possibly could.
Well, and if you were far enough down, I think the elevation starts evening out toward the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you wouldn't want people to go into the field from that end because I would imagine the ticketing's on the other side. But if you at least had a sidewalk that went over to that skinny lot that's on the one side of the field.
And also, I'll show you, when we get to Trinity, you'll see that, remember there's a parking lot that's gonna go right here. And we do have sidewalks that transition up to this other area as well. Okay. So we'll start just a little bit behind, because we have everything phased in approximately 3 months apart. This site also, when we say this is a tight schedule, everything about this site is tight. So much so, that's why we put this picture in here, is because oftentimes you'll look down the street here and you will see the pump truck was sitting out in the street almost on a daily basis.
So when you say Wilshire behind, you mean behind the other schools or behind school?
No, it's just behind the other schools. So you have everything's about staged about 3 months apart, which allows us to be able to do one process and one, move to the next one, do that, move to the next one, and we can double back. Also spreads out just enough to be able to have enough load. If we don't, we would outrun our subcontractors. So I've had questions on about how the ICF works. You can see here they're putting steel down in there, but the pump truck, what it does is it pumps concrete down those walls. Good close-up shot. Okay, since we've taken this picture, all this ICF that you see here on the slab, that's already getting ready to go up. We have poured all the slabs out for this site. see the elevator pit. Now this we wanted to show you, I had a conversation with a number of you, and we talked about the crawl space and why that's important. We appreciate being able to pay that extra to be able to make that happen and that's maintained. But this is one area, these are the restrooms that we added after the fact. So to make those happen, this is called a mud skipper. It looks like it's floating in the air because essentially that's what you're doing. You're floating it, you pour the concrete, then it basically is hanging onto the slab at that point. So just letting you see that process. You can see how this is. This one has probably more elevation change and maybe even midway because we're going to have retaining walls across this back. We're going to start to put steel in on the kitchen and cafeteria. Now the storm shelter, where you see all the steel, kind of that hole right there in the middle of the building, that's where our storm shelter will go. And again, as we saw on Midway, one day it's not there, 1 week later you got the whole pieces in place. Okay. All right, so what the site will look like when we're done. And Bell Manor, the reason I want to put them, I know it doesn't seem like we're doing a lot there, but I want you to be prepared. So today, we're out of the building. Construction fence is already up. It already hit social media that what's going on over at the, at FEW. So we already have our test piers were going in place over the weekend. We were able to do what's called a bilateral, which means instead of having to pay for 3-4 test pier sites, we just do one. Allowed us to get in, get done, get out. The drilling rig for that is moving right now. Once they're done there, they're moving over to Bell to get ready to do the arena. But we want you to see what kind of the play on how we're moving forward. Right now, the maintenance took place today. Maintenance is going to be taking everything out of the building that they need, door hardware, access control points, anything that might have been just installed the last year or so that they might can reuse. And then once they're out, actually, Brian Odom, he was able to work in. We told the city we weren't going to be able to do this, but we actually were able to find a time this Wednesday where he's going to let the fire department come in, do their training, and then get out. So it's also good to put that favor.
Yeah.
So Brian's done a great job with that. Just showing you the site, we did have a legacy walk 2 weekends ago. It was interesting to hear some of the old stories. People come in, talk about, hey, I used to walk through this door, I remember playing band for the games and all that kind of stuff. So interesting stories and a good time. So basically we got the fence. It's going to come down just off of the long jump, comes down to the concession and across. So that whole site will be become the construction. We did coordinate with Mike Lawton. So normally we're coordinating with the on-site principal because we usually we're right beside the school that they're building. In this case, we're working with Central Junior High. So Mike Lawton will be involved and be included in as many OACs that he would like to join in. Carrie could join in as well, but this is a lot of the stuff that's going to be happening is more coordination with the existing school site. This is the schedules right now. So right, like I said, everything is right where it needs to be. Off the bell. Now we threw in some slides more to remind you of what we're looking for in the finished product. And a lot of these, I would walk some of you that when we would do the tour, I take you in some of the pictures we've taken. We take them from this angle to try to give you kind of an idea of what we're about to look like as a finished product. So where I'm standing here is we're in the courtyard. We're looking northeast. You're looking back over to the SPED area. We'll have their own dedicated space. This over here will be the education wing, and we're looking over to the union on the right-hand side. Now the front, this is going to be really hard to see until we get the new, the old building out of the way. But the point I want to make here is, you'll see this corner. You're going to see this in a picture in just a minute. All the brick is actually in there. And the face of the Performing Arts Center, we cannot put that on until we get to phase 2. So we'll have to basically dummy that out until we get the building and everything out of the way so we can then finish that part. But the arena will be beginning that process right now. You're seeing most of what it's going to look like over at Trinity. This is in the foyer. So those of you that have done the tour, I came in, I said, okay, we're in the foyer, now looking back to the stairs. This is the image of what we would be if we fast forward to the finished product. You're looking back towards, the elevator would be over there. And then now we're looking back towards the north. That's leading back to the rest of the school. And then inside the auditorium. Now there's a picture in just a second. You will see this. It's got a ton of scaffolding in there. But but I want you to be able to see what we're looking at when we get finished. So, this will be the final product for the site. You can see the traffic flows. One thing I wanted to point out about this is we've been meeting with the city of Hurst because they are about to begin construction on Brown Trail. Now, people think, oh, you're crazy, why did you do that? Actually, what we've been doing is we've been coordinating with them, and we delayed that construction project as long as we could, because when it was gonna kick off was right when we were moving dirt and pouring concrete, and the amount of truck traffic was about to go exponential on a street that we weren't even able to barely get parents down. So we were able to hold it off, and then trying to target this summer. So they will start in May, and they're gonna start down here and work their way back towards the north. Robert South Stata has done a great job of coordinating with this. Randy held a community event, and so Robert South Stata, myself, and Randy were there, and he provided all the information that anybody would listen so that they would understand what's about to happen out there. The benefits of this is, right up here, this is, imagine the existing entrance that goes out onto Brown. Just over from that would be the circle drive. The middle of that circle drive is about where we want to put the crosswalk. And in that crosswalk comes a hash line, obviously. It's going to come with flashers like you see on Central Drive. And then in the middle of the road, instead of it being just flat, so 4 lanes, and the turning lane, you can go anywhere. Because now what we have is we have parents parking in the turning lane, on the curb. You got 1 lane to pass. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. So they're going to do a raised curb in the middle. That allows a pedestrian to get halfway across the street, pause, and then to finish the track if they need to. So that's been something very helpful to work with the city. Okay, this is our exterior mock-up. Now, one thing we want to point out too, if you remember the brick color, if you've ever been past the old Bedford School, that's the inspiration for this brick, if not the exact color. Then you got this smooth face block on bottom. And what this allows us to do is to test out the method of which we're going to install windows or insulation or the waterproofing, those type of things. And it allows us to pick out colors and make sure that the brick is good or the stone is fine. You can see right here, that's not a gap or light coming through. That's different colors of expansion joint caulking. And so we're trying to make sure, well, which one is the best. Sometimes you think it's going to look good, it goes terrible. So we'd rather go terrible here than to get it on the building before that. Okay, so we're going to do a kind of a fly around. You can see here this piece closest to us, that is the Performing Arts Center. You'll see the band of brick. We're kind of looking right into the front of the building. As we shift over, right here on this corner is the kitchen. You can see the leave out for the freezer coolers. The steel starting for the office area. The staircase, that tall tower is the staircase behind that. The scaffolding right in the middle, that's the elevator shaft. It'll be in the union. And you see that large courtyard. We would be looking exactly the opposite of that rendering that I showed. Sped area would be just beyond the kitchen and then education wing, and you can see that this is going to be 3 stories throughout here. Now, we'll talk more about this in just a second, but I kept getting questions about the truss, like why do we put that one piece there? You'll see in just a second why we're spanning large spaces, and we'll show you that. You can see we're already 2 stories with the concrete floors and putting on the roof already. Second floor, looking through all the walls. This is the 3rd story. And the roof's getting ready to go on. This has all been poured now. Now here's the view is, to the left is the gymnastics area. Then you got all this open space. So to cover that and put classrooms over these open space, we have to have something that can carry all that load. You can see it as it runs across to the fine arts area. This is the storm shelter. Now remember, storm shelter is designed to house everybody in the school while it's occupied, plus a buffer. So we'll be able to put everybody in here. I call it basically it's Noah's Ark. Once you're inside, you shut the doors, you wait for the storm to pass, and then we're out. It'll protect everybody for that. We use generators to help power that and to cool it. We're on this west end looking back to the east. You can see the stair towers. You can see the 3 floors starting to open up there. So the big yellow crane's gone away. What you can see down here on the trailer is our new crane. We actually had to have a bigger crane come in. Again, it's when you get to break down, bring in parts, and rebuild. It's getting ready to start lifting everything else for the remaining part of the school. We have 2 other cranes that are running around the site, trying to make sure we get everything lifted. But here's that brick. So we had to get the brick on, and that yellow crane had to lift up and over the building to help get that brick on the wall, so that we can then move to the next process. There's in front of the auditorium, the foyer. This is that place right there. I always pause and show you guys. This is standing right there before we enter into the auditorium. Scaffold, all this is basically, because that has a concrete deck on it, all the scaffolding is to help support that. But right here, you're looking back towards the seating. You can see we poured all the concrete in for the risers. The picture on the right is looking at the stage. You're looking at, if we took all that away, you can see the stage and where we'd be performing. But this one to me is the one that's the most, it's just amazing. You walk in there, that is 75 feet from the floor to deck. And that will be able to allow us to take our props and fly those into the fly box. Now we're on the IAC, kind of looking back, and you can see we've got to get all that brick in place. And the roof is already finished right there. Roof tying into the IAC and putting the brick band around that. So the crane we took down moved to the other side. So this is where the arena is going, and this is why we haven't been able to touch this area, is to be able to get everything lifted over. Once they were able to finish that, we're able to get that crane out of the way, and then we'll be able to begin the arena. So everything was out, now they're starting to get prepped. So now the slab, those of us who had to go get our kids at the slab is gone. This will be the finished product once we get done. Schedule, I've been asked a number of times, so we should be wrapping it up in the summer of May of 2028. So we're going to be putting kids in the building in the fall of 28. It'll take us another 12 months basically to get the old building down, get the parking lots in, the landscape fence, and finish everything up. All right, so Trinity. There's a site, that's what finished product will be. Gymnasium. You'll see some stuff later tonight talking about the branding and logos that will be going on. And those of you, I brought you in the building. This is one of the places we should stop. I'd say this is what it's going to look like. Trophy cases, staircases. If we turned right now and went straight in, we'd be going right where the big hole is inside the wall. Trophy case, the wood wall up there, that's the wood that we're going to be taking out of the competition gyms or maybe the facility gyms. Whatever smells the best, put it in there. More trophy cases, but you can see down this upper deck piece, that's the steel that's going in right now, and the piece that kicks out to the outside for canopies. Remember, we've got glass that's going to look over onto the court. That allows us, to me, there's two reasons for this. One, so I can go get my hot dog and my drink, and I can keep up with the game. The other thing I really like about this, part of the new standard would be is inclusivity. This is one of those basic ways we're able to do that. Kids who overstimulate, who cannot be inside with surroundings and everything else, one way, they can sit up here and they can still participate, watch, and hear it. Or they can go to another part. They can't even take that. We'll have it piped in through the audio visual. Now, the floor is not, you'll see later, we do have a representation of what the floor is going to look like. This is what the arena should look like when we're done. This is even a better rendering. This is one of the things that we said. We went and looked at the projection system, talking about the flag. You see, we're talking about a flag that rolls down. We have 3 different perspectives. So if you were in the student section or on that third deck, you're looking down, you can still see down onto the floor. But to be able to have that flag roll down and then roll back up out of there. Again, tennis courts, this is really what this is for. Tennis courts wrapping up right now. Tennis courts are open and done. But we're doing the storage building that's over there as well. Putting the roof on next week and get our roll-up door, and we should be ready to go to be able to turn that over to athletics in May. So you're getting all the flat work, all the stainless steel handrails are in place, landscaping is installed. Now this is Trinity's mock-up. You can see the stone on the right, stone on the left, how this is what it's going to look like on the arena. You can see a couple in just a minute, you'll see these patterns. The only thing that's not there, we will have the canopies come later. We mock those up as well. As we walk around, we'll do a fly around on this as well. This is the arena. She's got the brick going. Looking at the face, is this the steel work that we were talking about that's kicking out? We were asked about the auxiliary gym. This is the new auxiliary gym. So think about the auxiliary gym being larger than our current competition court. This will have a divided wall. It'll have courts that go 2 different directions plus 1 long. It does come with the scoreboard and roll out bleachers. So trying to set us up for future to be able to host competitions, we will be able to do that in auxiliary gym, in the competition gym, and in even some of the side gyms. Eating gym, I mean. This is the storm shelter. This has a gym in it. It also has another dancing gym, which is basically a part of a court, and then locker rooms in the very back. Now, you see the gap between the building, and you'll see this again a little bit later. I'll show you why we're not tying into that right away, but we will. In May, we do start the work for the exhaust fans, and all that work will begin. We're trying to time the exhaust fan work around the turf being replaced, because both of those are going to happen between May and June. We're going to fly around here so you can see the brick. All that is done, and actually the other side, we're already working on that going up. You'll see there's a band of stone, a little bit of different brick, and then the rest of the pattern. Start moving around, looking back towards the north. This is on the back side. This is where our we have the wrestling, we have the weight room, and then we have locker rooms across the back side. All this roof is being installed now. Now back to the foyer. All that steel at the deck that I was talking about. This is what you'll be seeing now. Multiple trophy cases throughout the building. In the back side, I believe there's 4 out there. There's another 2 out front. Tons of masonry going on right now. What's happening is we got all the mechanical in, now we got to get all the walls up, and that's all CMU block. So they're working on all that. And once they're getting close to wrapping up the CMU, so masons are not just masons. You got some that do CMU, you got some that do brick, you got some that can do both. The ones that can help out with brick, Scott said they're going to start pulling them out to the outside so we can brick faster and get around the outside of the building. This right here, this is that piece that's between the back on the right-hand side and the new building on the left. What we're doing is, we could go ahead and tie in, but if we did that, we'd have to make that roof deck strong enough to hold all the jacks, plus all the brick, plus everything else to construct. If we leave that out, we can just build right off the ground and get up there faster, then put our roof back in. Gymnastics gym. It's a little bit bigger than our last one, right? We do have the pits over here in the far right-hand side. This already has the roof deck on it. This is the arena. We're looking back out towards the front, so we'd be sitting underneath the student section. Now, one thing they've already started, I could get the picture in, Scott, but we already have the precast planks, which is going in on that steel. So it actually looks like we have risers for seating now. And so all that's been going in. This doesn't really give scale until you stand right there. Now, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I want to prep you guys for, is this. This image at the P building, once we complete this over here, we then begin the building of the new A building. It's like installing a tumor inside the middle of the brain is what we're going to be doing. Take that piece out, put that piece back in. Now to do that, we have to work. I'm leaving off the other part.
We need a different analogy.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the other one off. It's not a tumor. We have to work and get kids around this so we can get them into the new building. We also got to keep our pathway across the back. So you can understand the challenge. It is going to be tight. We are working with Ronald and Dexter for all the egress plans. Also working with Dan to make sure that we still meet all of our emergency for all of that type of stuff as well. So I wanted you to see, and those of you who know the campus, you know it, except that how tight we're going to be getting around and getting our utilities in and work around that building.
What is that building coming down, the one that's over by the MAC,
The concession stand?
Concession stand would be in June. June through August. Yes. Yes, ma'am. So That piece, we are working down to coordination. We were just talking about, we want it down to the hour. What's happening when and what, we gotta get storage out, so that's a meeting we still have to have. We gotta take the building down. I met with some people when we did the legacy walk, we were talking with them, so they were saying, what's gonna happen to our bricks? Bricks aren't gonna move. What's gonna happen to the stone? Stone's just gonna get moved a little bit, we'll put it right back. So talking through all those things, we know that those are concerns, so we, to be able to make that happen.
Josh, when you tie the MAC, when you make that final connection into the conditioned gyms, the MAC is still gonna be unconditioned, but you're gonna put some big fans on there? Is that right?
The exhaust fans, yes, not across the, let's see. Okay, let's try that. We'll have the exhaust fans all down through here. So the difference between Bell and Trinity is, you can see all of Trinity is blocked over one side. Bell is a short, so they'll get, I think it's one fan less, because they can still open a roll-up door. But yeah, this summer, starting in May, we're gonna be starting that work, to get those, we're gonna have steel put in, and then put the fans on.
I'm not questioning the fans, what I'm questioning is tying a space that you can have big fans drawing air out of to a conditioned space. How are we gonna make sure that those doors, or whatever isolation you have between the conditioned space and unconditioned space, isn't just sucking all the air out of the conditioned space and into the unconditioned space?
Everything on that side, let's see.
What's that happen to all those doors along there?
Let's see if I find it. Okay, everything on this side has doors on that space. Basically, the hall is the only thing we would have to make sure that we would have a concern with. There's no reason to ever raise those doors if you're gonna be doing the exhaust. You would want that to be, that the doors on the north side are open, doors on the south side are closed, and that's when the fans would come on. That's the way it's supposed to operate.
Yeah, but it's not gonna take long for them to figure out that if they open up those doors and turn on those fans, it's gonna be a lot more.
Josh, we're filling those in, the overhead doors,
Yeah, they're not.
we're filling those openings.
So how do you get from?
So it's just gonna be a wall.
There are
There's gonna
pedestrian
be
doors
like
down through
6
there.
doors, and then
pedestrian
just regular pedestrian doors, but the big overhead
So
doors.
you're
So they're gonna open those up
garage.
and turn on fans, and it's gonna pull all that air conditioning into that space.
Right, we're saying that the overhead doors are being removed.
The overhead doors are gone, but what is there?
I'm talking about.
No, he's talking about a regular
I don't
door.
care if they're overhead doors or regular pedestrian doors, they're gonna be open between two spaces. And when you turn on that fan, it's gonna pull a lot of air. I'm sure it'll get addressed.
Let's.
Good.
No, I've seen the same thing, where there's air conditioning in the hallway, you open the door and pull it in.
It's gonna make the gyms.
What's that?
It's gonna make the gyms less comfortable.
I'll look into it, because I know that we've had conversations with Romine about that, making sure, because also we have to make sure the testing and balancing will all balance out as well. And so that all would have to, it's going to have to equalize one way or the other. Otherwise, we put the whole thing into the negative, we do those fans on, and we probably not make everybody cold, we probably suck the door shut. Okay, so to what you were asking, Becky, right here, this is that piece. The drive path through here, the red is gonna be for buses, egress, and regular passenger traffic. The blue is gonna be for construction. So you're like, well, you're gonna put construction with everybody else, yes. But the thing is, we're gonna make this a one-way, so from north to south, traffic is only gonna go that one direction. Talking with Ronald, talking with construction, it was acceptable that we're gonna bring in the trucks, because they're gonna be doing the same pathway that buses would be taking. So they come in, but once they get to right out the baseball, buses will make the turn. We have done a study for the swing rate and radius for our buses. So the buses would keep on going, construction traffic is gonna turn back into what would be construction, laydown zone, laydown area. So then they'll be out that direction. But you're right, is we will start the demolition of the T building, or the concession stand, restroom, old wrestling. All that will come down, and then we'll be putting our utilities in all down through that side. All right, right, so I don't know if you've heard about the gallery. Some of you got to have the opportunity to walk through. But we have a gallery in the back side of the ASF right now looking at furniture. One thing we wanted to do, we went to Boswell High School, Tyler High School, Rockwall Heath, and I think the CTE in Tyler, is that right? Yes, okay. And looked at all the different kinds of furniture, listened to their stories, the things that went well, things that did not. And also thinking about some of our staff and students, looking at different chairs and furniture that would work best. We learned a lot more about furniture than probably most of us would ever want to know. Probably like to have a few hours of our time back, but learning about the different chairs, you have the different sleds, we've got cantilever. Some of these chairs actually have little bumps on the bottom for stimulation. They also are designed so that you can swing a little bit and bounce. We like some of them that they don't allow you to rock back. So I've had that kind of design as well. So we're looking at see what kind of furniture that we're going to be able to put into the new buildings. Now, we're also trying to get a round cafeteria table and match that up with a chair. And it would be nice if we could find a chair that would work both as a cafeteria table chair and as a classroom chair. That way, when we hold functions, because we said in the union, we want to be able to host large banquets. Well, if you take all the tables out, you could have nothing but chairs in there. You might have to pull from classrooms. So to keep that to have continuity, it'd be nice to have the same kind of chair across all of that. Task chairs, we'll look through all those as well. Looking for different desks. Now, we think we might be able to, we're narrowing down in one, all the different kinds here. We have cantilever. We have the wheelbarrow style, which is wheels on one side, not on the other. Makes it easy for the for the custodians and for students to be able to restructure the classroom. But then also to be able to nest the desks also would be very helpful as well. And we have Bell High School's coming this week. We're still trying to secure Trinity coming over and looking at them as well. Both schools went with us on our visit to Tyler and to Rockwall Heath. So that's where we were able to take in a lot of our information and narrow it down to these type of desks and chairs.
Josh, I got a question. So you're saying that these schools that you went to see all have round tables with chairs like these in the cafeteria?
No, they all had different kinds. We found high tables at one. Some of us had rectangle tables. We're saying that the reason we would look at the round table is because what we're wanting to do with our union, it would allow better for banquets, more flexibility, getting people around the table. When you go with a table that has a stool that only each person can sit on, you've already limited yourself to how many can sit around that table.
Are these tables going to be tables that will?
We're looking for something that would then stack up and then nest into a smaller.
I had the same discussion. It's like, okay, that reduces us, because we'd have to have an extra set of furniture, and then we have to store the extra set if we went with the traditional cafeteria tables, and then we still need round tables for banquets, other PD, different things like that. So we get to where we have one, but then we've got to make sure we have a way for the custodians to efficiently move those chairs so they can. It has to be easy, stackable. We have to have all those little carts to carry all that. So we have to make sure that we're doing that we create something that can be like, I don't want the floor not clean because it's just too much work to do it. But at the same time, we don't, storing an entire extra set of cafeteria tables would be a lot of space that would always going to be full of something, whether it's around or if we have both. So that's what we're looking at right now.
So another thing, we looked at some different teacher stations as well. So good feedback that we really got from some of the places. This right here is an adjustable rectangular teaching stand. And you also have this one I really like. We met one teacher, and she has her laptop. You can put a cushion on it. It's got this little strap, and she said I can literally go from one classroom and run to another classroom. She could be in the classroom, and she could either pull it over next to a student's desk, grab a hold, and it just lowers down to their level, and she can turn and have a seat and work off of her digital device with the students. Another one we saw was this one. It's on casters. The teachers can do the same thing. It's got lockable storage. It's got basically a podium that they can then roll around with their devices on and go from room to room. Now, the other thing we're doing, you can see the walls, these are all the colors that will be in the school. We have some other, this isn't completely finished because they're gonna come just like the mock-up on the exterior. We're basically doing that for the interior. So we're gonna be able to see the tile that goes on the wall, see the different colors. Now, one of the concerns that came up with the science labs, lab tables. So you can see the cabinetry in the back, and this is the thick, granite, or not granite, but, slate top. And so we had, these are a design that we were working on. These are 2 prototypes. And what they're supposed to be designed to do is buckle together. So that we can have, and they're also supposed to buckle into the cabinet on the wall. That way, because it's supposed to be one long run, and you would take these and turn, and they would then become like a peninsula, so that you can have more flexibility. But if the teacher wants to change the room, she can take these out, and they would buckle together, and they'd have either rows, or they can make one long table for an experiment, anything like that. You can also use these to roll on casters. We have 2 that store in the prep room, so that you can put all your microscopes on it, and then roll them out, and it becomes part of the storage device. Now, having said that, I went out there, put one of them together, went to buckle it, broke the buckle immediately. So, is it done? We're not finished just yet, but we're pretty close. Because we really like the structure of the frame. The top is really good. They're not flimsy. We do have some concerns with some of the casters. We're looking at something a little bit different for that. But we're getting, this is something similar to what we're going to have for all our science labs.
And that came from the teachers really talking us through, and so what we're working on, these are complete customs. Based on the feedback we got from the teachers, here's what we'd like to see, so Josh is having these worked up. I can tell you, I went out there and we're still working on that locking mechanism. Those are solid. Those are solid, heavy tables, and that's really what they're wanting. They're wanting the stability in that table. And so I think I appreciate Josh and the extra work they went in to create those. And like I said, they're still working on it.
So the flexibility sounds awesome. I think it's a great idea. I'm just curious, just how flexible is it? How custom is that locking mechanism in certain spots on the table, so you can only make certain configurations, or can you make it lock just about anywhere you want?
We're trying to make it to where you either can lock them end to end or side to side. You could make it do something like this. We're still working on that piece. But another design would be so that basically you make it like an L, because where the mounting brackets would be. These have a clip. I have another style that is an insert that goes in the wood, has a sleeve for a dot, like a big rod, and it's got a hand strap. And a lot of wood shops have those. So trying to take that, incorporate it into this, where you just reach under, you would then tighten them together. And so, yeah, you have it either L's, side by side, or hands.
And John, for the main position, I think they were all pretty good with, there's a main position where that table locks in, but then the ability to move it. But if I know I need that level of stability, I'm docking. If I want to move it, lock the legs, and do some other configurations, but if I'm working with acids or certain things like that, I'm going to dock it in that main location. But the stability or the flexibility of being able to move it and create some other looks, that is really handy with the varied science classes we will be teaching.
Seating for the arena and for the Performing Arts Center. One thing, we just had a conversation about the seats on the left. We'll go back and review that, because the red seat is possibly not something we're really looking into once we get it out there. The gray is something that would be much more durable, going to have a better,
We wanted to try and put some red in, and we're like, for the theater, it's probably not necessary, and it'll be a mess. Yeah. We're trying too hard.
Like I said here, you can see Trinity on the left-hand side. We even have our terrazzo samples, made a large sample to be able to get a better idea of what that's going to look like. And then we were looking at this, some of the colors being side by side, where they're going to be. We want to make sure that those are going to work as well. Cabinetry's up, just those don't have the doors on just right at the moment.
Is that carpet a done deal?
That is not the fuel
It
carpet.
looks pink.
Yeah, that is just a tiny accent carpet that was in the library, which we can look at other options. There's not a big field of it like this.
Okay.
So we're trying to get the right carpet down so you can see.
Okay. As long as we're not locked into that.
But you're right about, you see one little block and it looks fine, and then next thing you know, you put it all together, and then all of a sudden, oh, that's a good idea.
Definitely not the first person to say that. That's why we go, like Joe said, this is why we go through this process to see what it's gonna look like. This is our final product at Trinity. Scheduled to, like I said, this summer, we're finishing up the arena, we'll start into that phase 2. Any questions for that? I have a question, is it not, you're taking down the 3 building in May? Yes.
Or the restrooms for the fall football?
We're looking at bringing in portals. And we also have the concessions for baseball. Those are much larger than we had before. And they stick out just outside, so it'd be easier to get to those. But if we need to have extra beyond that, then we can bring a portable trailer and put that on the other side.
Thank you. Yeah, for both of those, probably Spell will be in the same boat at some point too, where we'll just have to bring in portable, even portable concession stand, whatever we need to do to get through until we get those permanent buildings back up. All right, so next we have our financial update, so Stephen will take us through that.
Hey Josh, it's an intermediate question. Are we behind schedule on any of the project?
Not just one. I should have started off with one of the things, just the trendy of what you're doing with construction, budget, scope, and schedule. And right now, we're on track for everything.
Alright, so the money part of this, there's not a lot of change from last month, so we'll kind of start with Hurst-Euless. As you can see, there's no changes to the budget on this one. We have about $9 million in expenses since last month. So on percentage, it's gone from 37.4 to 53.2% complete on the money part of it. Midway Park, again, no change in the budget, approximately $8 million spent, so about 22.9% up to 36.6% on that one. On Wilshire, no changes in the budget again. We spent about $3 million in the last month on this one. So the change on that one, about 12.8% complete to 18.3% complete. Bell Manor, the one that's had the lease done on it, has had no change to the budget, only about $7,000 spent last month, so no real change in the percentage there. The biggest changes are on the high school, since we did pull out those project manager expenses. You're gonna see a reduction in the budget of $5.3 million. You'll see the property purchase, the $1,000 was for the earnest money. On the next report, you'll see today's purchase of about $1.6 million for that land, so that'll show up on the next report. And then approximately $10 million was spent in the month of March, so about 25.7% to 28.5% complete on the money part.
So the total was like 1.7, right? So it's 1.6 plus that.
Right, exactly. Okay, on Trinity, you'll see the reduction for the same thing for the project manager from 5.4 million there. About 500,000 was spent in March. We had some payouts that kind of processed a little bit later, so they're going to show up in April. So 17.5% to 17.9%. On the other projects, no real changes this month. So as you can see here with the current budgets, you're looking at about $13 million under the proposal there. On Prop B, there's been no changes on that. Our other expenses, there was a small expense on the Family Support Center. Bond costs, that's our investment costs for the quarter that we have to pay for the investment consultants on our funds that we have. And so then on your totals, you can see that now with those reductions to the project managers, we're about $11.2 million to the good total on the bond. Any questions on the bond part?
Can you go back to that arbitrage
Yes.
estimation?
Arbitrage of $7.2 million right now is the estimate from Hilltop.
Do you expect that to stay at that number?
With the rates where they are now, we're probably not going to see a lot of additional. Rates have dropped on everything. I mean, It's hard to tell exactly what we're gonna be getting over the next year, but as percentage rates keep going down and getting closer to what we're paying on the bonds, then we should see less and less. Any other questions?
Thank you, Stephen, for putting that together. I think the work you've done on this has really, I think, helped us, yeah, kind of see this laid out.
Okay, and then the other part I have is our locally defined fund. This one we kind of have updated with all the new amounts, so the $1.9 million that we're gonna be transferring over to it. You'll see on here, Bell Elementary still shows that it has $6.8 million. That's almost all in contingencies, so that'll be returning into the fund balance soon. You'll see the indoor facility turf is on here, along with the HVAC replacements that were approved a couple months ago. And a few of the other little projects that have been approved recently are on here. So at the bottom line, right now, there's about $20.8 million left in this fund. Once we take that Bel Air money and move it, you're looking at probably about $26 million. Questions on any of that?
Are the marquees budgeted on this?
No, since they haven't been approved yet, they're not.
These are only approved.
Only approved projects.
Just wanna make sure. So for our 2023 technology bond update, as you remember, we were part of two propositions. So in our first one, technology infrastructure, the bond was for $18.8 million. We have spent about $11.3 million, the remaining balance of $7.4 million. With projects that we've already completed, we added the new generators to this Pat May Center and admin complex. We also upgraded the data center, and then we have taken care of secondary and elementary IFPs, just to name a few. These boards right here that you see in these rooms were also part of our projects that are in the making. As you remember last board meeting, I brought to you the IP-based pages, so pending board approval, that'll be something that we will move to our completed projects list soon. And then upcoming projects, so elementary and secondary cafeteria upgrades. Our job right now is to standardize what our elementaries have across the district so that everybody has the same sound opportunities, that they can put on their musicals and presentations in the same way. So we're working on standardizing that. In addition, we're purchasing some checkout mixer boards and things of that nature that they can work with Miss Cumberledge on to use for various campuses whenever they have their events. We're also working on connecting TCC to our fiber network. So with the Collegiate Academy this year, we have been working with TCC, but we want to connect them to our network just so we can have more safety and security as far as star testing and things of that nature. So we will work on getting our fiber ran to that campus this summer. It'll be beneficial with the growth of that campus and as we move into a more permanent location. Then in addition, digital signage refresh. This is on campus, in campus signage. So when you walk in this building and you see the TVs that are up on the walls, or when you go to a campus and you see those TVs, that's what we're talking about here. So we will be working on a refresh. Those monitors are 10 to 12 years old, so it's time to refresh them and bring out something new. So that's on our list. And then of course we have a large amount of money dedicated to cybersecurity so that we can continue to keep an eye on our threat landscape and what is coming our direction. We are anticipating an upgrade to our firewall with that, but that is something that we're just in the beginning stages of planning. So when it's all said and done, after we complete this list of projects, we'll have about $237,000 remaining. Obviously, we're over budgeting just a little bit with the increase in prices right now, so you could end up with a little bit more. Then our second proposition is the classroom technology supply. So we originally had 18 million. We have spent 9.2. We have a remaining balance of 8.7. And this is where every 6 months I bring to you the request to purchase new technology for our teachers in classrooms. So again, this is on our 5-year refresh cycle, so we'll continue to operate on that same cadence. Any questions?
What's a typical Chromebook lifespan?
So a typical Chromebook lifespan is 4 to 5 years, if they're taken care of and in good condition. We, about 6 years, the battery life becomes something that's just not super reliable for us. We take really good care of our devices with keeping them repaired and refreshed. But years 5 and 6.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you. Okay, we have additional projects. Josh, I hope to.
Okay, so the two projects we're talking about here tonight are the gate on the east end of Benton. No presentation or PowerPoint for this, just wanted to explain and give you a little update on that. Working to remove the ticket booth, get that out of the way, finish the fence across and put a gate in on that side. It also will cut the into the curb so we can get props and things like that on there for bands of America, band competitions, those type of things. So real simple project. Now what we do have to do, Davis has to work around a couple things. One, DCI is coming in, so he has time to get the building down, get that finished, and then the next piece would be to get it ready and completed and buttoned up by the time football starts. So, any questions on that one?
Just real quick, so this is a piece, obviously, it really is a huge bonus for bands. I was talking to Danny Dietrich, the fine arts director in Burnville, and he's like, oh, you guys are adding a gate on that end. Like, I mean, that's cool. Because that's awesome.
Will we be the only ones with something like that?
I wouldn't say the only, but we would be, that's one of the things that really sets us up for that, because I've talked to people like Bands of America, there's a couple of people we knew that were doing, not the Blue Devils, but somebody like that, and they said that was something really simple. When they go to facilities like that, they go on one side, they exit the other, it really makes a big deal.
Well, they love our facility and add that ability instead of trying to navigate those other small gates. That was big. Fielder likes it. He goes athletically, he goes, I like to be able to open that gate. I can enter one team this way, I can enter another team. He goes, I really like having that option also.
And the bands are the same, is that you end up at the bottleneck. If you've ever been at Bands of America, you see, we put everything into like the bus slot, and everything's going in. Well, they can't do anything until they get completely out, and then you got this time delay of getting the next one to go into the same gate. Well, this one is, you can be feeding in one gate as they're already going out the other, so it speeds things up a little bit.
So you said it'll be in place before DCI gets out?
No, not before DCI, I don't think we can make that. We want to be totally ready and finished by the time football starts. But DCI, I'm just saying, we've got to get some of the work done before it, and then probably pause, and then pick up after that to be able to finish it up. Okay. All right, so the second project, it would be you want to talk about it?
That's fine. We went over to, our swim team swims over at TCC. We went over to one of the meets, and I'm watching the parents 4 deep in their yard chairs, trying to watch kids swim. I'm like, there's no way you can watch it. So we asked Aubrey, can we build, like take out a wall or two and build bleachers? And Aubrey's like, no. What you can do though is put retractable bleachers at the end where they're all sitting right now, because they need that space at other times. So something I thought was going to be pretty expensive really wasn't. I think the initial cost was $140,000. I think that's without installation. But for how many seating was that for? Like 200, 190, somewhere in there?
I don't even remember. I wasn't prepared to talk about that one.
Yeah. But just so you know, so we've talked to TCC about installing that, and if they give us approval, we'll work on an MOU, and then we'll come to you for approval. We would pay for it. we paid for the, scoreboard that's up there to make it a more usable place for us. If that's gonna be our home for swimming, and we're gonna make sure that we write some conditions in there to make sure that if we're gonna assist with upgrades to there, that we continue to have the access that we need. So our families, that we have a home, a place to swim that's a little better option, and it's gonna be a much better seating for our families that are at those events.
So it's better seating, but are they doing anything other than Bell Trinity techniques there, or
I don't know what, they were excited about us doing this, because they said, you know, this is a win for the school also, because we would be able to utilize it. I know the big thing was they do a lot of work on that deck, so they definitely wanted it retractable. But I don't know that any other schools come in, I don't know if groups and organizations run also.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of making it more usable and making it to where you can watch kids swim. You know, when I was a swim dad, pretty much we only went there for swim practice, or if Bell and Trinity were doing something together and they had like their own little friendly meet there. Other than that, we were swimming somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, for all the real meets.
This is going to be mostly for those, when they come together, but based on the invites I've gotten, they come together several times during the year.
And I'll tell you one other thing too, I'm in teams with Coach Barton, and I knew some other moms that were swim moms, and they said one of the greatest things they loved that we did was buying the touch pads, because their other touch pads were starting to fail. And the fact, I mean, it wasn't that much money, but it bought us dividends on how much support that they felt like we had.
Who will be responsible for the maintenance?
That's going to be on the TCC.
To be on the TCC?
But it's part of that should be part of the MOU.
Yeah. See, we're gonna work together. We're waiting for a final from them. They've taken it to their committees. It is, to their environmentals. It's supposed to be coming back to us. Once it gets back to us, I'm gonna send it over to Mr. Furbo to look at so that we can begin working on the MOU.
What is our current, how long out does our current contract take us with them right now?
Year to year.
See, that's what we want to write in there.
Is there some commitment that they're willing to do that for more than a year at a certain price?
And they were very open to that, yes.
We'd also build in the provision that we'd have right of first use of the facility. We wouldn't want to make those improvements and all of a sudden another neighboring district say, oh, we would like to use your facility and come in and be able to leapfrog over our rights. So we build at least a 10-year provision that would allow that.
Yeah, but I'd like to see, if we're gonna do some of this, work on, where we take the cost in, I'd like to see some type of agreement on their part that for a period of time, they're not gonna raise that, because they've been raising that.
That's not a bad idea, just look into that.
For a 4 or 5 year period of time, we get to keep the same rate.
A lot of opportunity for structuring this.
But this was, like I said, as soon as we get that, which from talking to them, we actually were there today for another meeting. So hopefully we'll get something soon. And then, like I said, you hear and work something, I'll get it to you all to look at prior, obviously, to need.
What's the all-in price?
I'm just waiting on, because we were discussing how we were going to do the installation. So once we know how we're going to do it, we've gone back and forth. So once we know what's installation, then I'll know. But I think the bleachers themselves, I think wasn't it 140?
About 147.
Yeah.
So this would come out of capital projects?
Yeah. It would, yeah. All right.
All right, so next topic.
This is Josh.
Yes, thank you for that.
Who's your intern?
Facility condition assessment, we want to have a conversation and I'd like to talk to you about facility condition assessment, have a discussion how we want to move forward with that. So one thing I'd like to do is set have an understanding of what a facility condition assessment is. In the past, a lot of times it gets used as the facility condition assessment, just like Joe said, is only for building bonds. In my fields, that's like saying that your cell phone is only for making phone calls. There's so much more that you can do with that. So one of the things would be is you use it for your capital improvement planning. It is also for understanding if we were to make decisions on our facilities, which we were going to be reallocating or anything like that. That's another thing that you would do. But the biggest piece too would also be a living plan for our maintenance and operations department to be able to maintain and fix and repair buildings. And so to take off of what we brought to you in October of the capital improvement plan, this is what that would be building for. It's going to create a roadmap, not a blueprint, but a roadmap of everything that would be in the district so that we can bring to you and we have an educated understanding of actually what's in those facilities so we can make repairs. So it's going to set up that long-range plan to be able to show each one of those pieces. We have done this in the past. Yes, we were successful over the years. We were just having a conversation recently that once we started really sticking to our planning and using the work order system and all the data coming in, that we started seeing less and less of the issues that we used to have. If I brought to you every piece of HVAC or RTUs that we need to replace in the district, I think everybody here would pass out from just gasping, because if you saw the age of some of our units that are on the buildings right now, we have units that are still pushing back to the 90s. And so, but having said that, some of us know too, there are certain units that those may be trucking just fine. They are solid, and a unit that's only 10 years old may have a problem. And so by doing that assessment, you know which ones do you really need to target to get off the building, and which is going to take down. And what we've our concern is anything that's going to interrupt educational programming. So if that's what's going to do it, then that's what we're going to target to be able to get out of here first. So we won't be able to have that until we bring somebody in to be able to look at that and really go in deep. And when we say deep, we're not talking last time. That's what we used the condition assessment for it was to build our bond. It was to see what was in the facility, but we just didn't go super deep on that. What we'd like to do is every electric panel, every water heater, every piece, every valve, we're really going to look into those things that would cause a disruption or interruption to our service. And so doing that, right now, we have already gone out for an RFQ to secure professional service to be able to do this. Now, we have the bid closed on Friday. We're now waiting for evaluations and all the bids to come in. And it's not a bid, I'm sorry, I said that wrong, didn't I, Gary? It's actually a proposal to show us their qualifications. We will go through an evaluation, evaluate them, and then come to you for a recommendation for an award for a professional service. We put them on, we have them ready, and when you say, and we all agree that they're ready to move forward to execute that condition assessment, that's when we would then enter into an agreement and bring you a price or a bid at that time. And so once we do that, then we can move forward with that. That's what we'd like to bring for you and see what are your feels and what you think about moving forward. If you like this plan, then great, and we continue down this track. If it is something you want us to do different, we just need to know what direction you'd like for us to take.
So really what we're trying to decide is, when do we go out? All right, and like I said, we've in the past looked at this as something we do to get ready for a bond. What Josh is saying is, this is what you do to manage everything you have, and based on the information of managing everything you have, at some point you may need to opt for a bond. But is this something that if we're ready to go out now? Is it something you see is still in the future? And that's where we want to kind of talk through and let y'all ask any questions of Josh, and then make sure that we then can gather any information and then make that decision. And like I said, Josh even said, we can qualify, we can pick someone, and then we still can make a decision. Here's when we're going to go out. But I also think, and I think we saw that last time, the information we had, I don't think was necessarily exactly how we wanted it. And I think that's the other piece, is we need a little more in depth. Like it just said, engineering needs and things, and like, what are we looking at here? This campus is going to need this amount of money, but what are we going to be needing? Specifically, what are we looking at? That's the thing we've run into, and Josh mentioned, HVAC, the age of the units, and the condition. And again, it's why we've been coming to you. It's time to really start working that cycle and getting some of those units
So
replaced.
the last one we had done was what, BLK 10 years ago?
Yeah, a good point there, and something I would need to make sure to help you make a decision. Best practice, every 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
You kind of think about, there were some reasonings behind that. 3, I like the trend, so you're gonna get past 3, don't wanna get anything farther than 5. If you look at your bond cycles, usually bring around a 5-year cycle. That's one reason you might do that. 2, just 5 years on your life cycles of equipment. You're gonna have things that are gonna start aging out on a trend like that. So that's what you'd be looking at. Another piece, your initial cost of an assessment, it's gonna be pretty large to get started. But then after that, every 3 to 5 years, if you stay on those cycles, and if you have, with us, maintaining that as a living plan,
Yeah.
and we keep it updated, then after that, it should be about 20% is what you usually run on the next assessment. So initial out the gate, pretty large. After that, every 20% every 3 to 5 years. So somewhere in that is where we land. Next question, if you're gonna ask, is what would I be looking at as far as cost-wise? Runs about 25 cents to 35 cents a square foot. If you're thinking on 3.5 million for the district, we're running around $875,000 for the district, plus or minus. It just depends on how many more services or how less we might end up with, where we're gonna land out.
Well, in doing this first one right now, we won't really take into account the new construction at the 2 largest facilities.
Yes and no. Yes, I would want to put it on, so we have it on and ready to go for the next one, but it would show as zeroed out.
Okay.
So that the next time you'd come back and say, okay, we're just gonna, yes, you have 17 water heaters, yes, they're in place, yes, they were installed in 2026, 2027, something like that, and then they would move forward. But at least you'd be capturing that data, and right now, that's easy for us to do on the construction side, because literally that's just documentation turned over to whoever's gonna be doing the assessment, and they put that right into the report.
So what is the scope of the assessment for each individual building?
So we've got it, all mechanical systems.
Would it all be the same?
Yes, we want it all the same on all buildings, all facilities. And what we were talking about too, is the entire district. So everything from the stadium to the elementaries, CTE to the ASF, we have all those systems in place. Roofs, we held the roofs out because we have Armco and we have an ongoing basically assessment process that we've done with them over the years.
So it would not be roof?
Not roofs.
Okay.
Yeah, not in this assessment, it would be taken in by doing that with Armco, and that would just be added to but it shouldn't be included in this type of assessment.
Okay, so what systems would we be looking at?
All mechanical, so MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. We excluded ADA.
Not ADA?
No.
HVAC?
Yes, that's the mechanical. We withheld safety and security. We held that out.
Or because we recently done it?
Yes, that plus controlled with Dan and having a different lens on that. So we didn't want that in there.
Okay, what else?
Can you think of anything else, Gary?
So you're looking at structural, maintenance, administration, all that kind of stuff included?
We did talk about finishes, but finishes, I don't know if we really want to put that in there because it's a different kind of feel. We could walk in today, we don't like this carpet, we want to change it out. Some people can make synthetic turf. We know it has about a 10-year life. We've got 12 out of our stadium. We do a different assessment when it comes out anyways. So all sports field equipment is all done through our engineer that does sports fields or vendors that way as well.
They look at conditions of parking lots, sidewalks.
Yes.
So
Outside exterior wall.
Doors and hardware.
Yes, the door number?
Doors and hardware.
that's not
That's not safety
security?
and security?
No, it just depends. Safety
That's-
security.
They would, that's safety security for checking it, but that's a mechanical piece. I would want that checked through the assessment. See, when he's saying not for safety and security,
Cameras.
the cameras,
Access control.
checking all food service stuff.
We haven't on that because Mariella has a different process that she's doing on that it could easily be added. That's the other thing too. What we gave them for qualifications is to help us qualify that. Once we move forward, if we saw that, well, you know what, let's say we lost Armco and we needed to pick that up, we could easily add that into that. Right now, we're just in the qualification part, which is not, we're not allowed to ask pricing, we're not anything. We're trying to put a leveling playing field so we can evaluate them against each other. Some people offer better services and software.
Could we create a spreadsheet of all of those categories, and then here's what we're going out for, and then the areas that we use either internal or use other, and also we can evaluate to make sure that we're accounting for everything we do want to evaluate.
That should all be part of our RFP now in terms of what we're asking for.
We can provide that, so that's trying to remember everything we had in the meetings that was going through each one of those.
Okay, so in the RFP, we define it like this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because you're asking for their qualifications to analyze those things and tell them what you need analyzed.
Right, and so that's why I'm saying there would be things that we left out of the qualification that we might add in later. Something that could add benefit is if they have software, other companies may not. Then once we get into, that is either part of that will either bring more value or they could bring less.
In terms of safety and security, what about fire systems?
Typically that's going to be done, we have all of our inspections. We did have fire system panels. Yes, fire panels were a part of that process as well.
So Josh and Joe, I'm the simpleton here. You started out this meeting tonight by showing us construction that's going on for most of these buildings through 27, not counting the high schools. And a lot of the things on this list are things that are in progress. We do this now, or is this something we're going to do a year from now, or 2 years from now? Or what's your timeline on thinking this?
Well,
because it seems to me that most of these things are in flux at the moment.
I think the evaluation is again, like David's about to talk about all the things that he's working on. And so, yeah, we're gonna have a bunch of buildings that are new and newer, but we still have a lot of our buildings that are of age. And, you know, I remember just going back to the VLK evaluation, the amount of work that we would consider a relatively young campus, River Trails. River Trails was gonna need significant work just because items were aging out. Like, no concerns about the building's long-term life, but it was just time to replace multiple mechanical features. But we need to make sure that we have evaluated those, we know where we're at, and then whether it's going to bond to fix these, or whether it's David and his crew getting these repaired.
So, if I remember the VLK analysis or assessment correctly, that's what we based our decision on to replace schools. Right. Does this assessment go that far and say this school is in need of a replacement, or is it just looking at systems within the school?
You can take it far enough to get what's called an FCI, Facility Condition Index. And that's, we remember the point we said at Trinity here in Bell, that they hit 87, and we said that's 60, so when you start thinking, do we replace? You could get that, yes. And so you can have that. That's why I'm saying as far as a living piece, we can have that index and we can say, well, we might need to look at doing something different with that school versus continuing to pump money into them. So if you back up a little bit, when we were looking at Oakwood Terrace and I knew that was going to be the next one up, then I would go to maintenance side. Okay, listen, I need you guys to look at this like it's a 5-year situation. What are we putting in there? And then we start kind of, let's pull back a little bit. I don't need to put something that's going to have a 25-year life expectancy if I think that building's only going to 5 or more. So it does help to know that information, but it even helps us more, to your point. River Trails, it's on its first cycle. So it's 25 years, so roughly everything, the worst case you could have is starting to look at your roofs, look at your HVAC, and that's in a 25-year cycle. Whereas Shady Oaks or North Euless, those are already through like 4 cycles.
Right.
So we've already replaced HVAC, we've already replaced water heaters like 10 times. So you're starting to look at kind of both of those things.
Right.
I would be looking at that index to watch when Joe says, I need you to be thinking about, are we going to close the school because you're building these big ones? Are we going to do an elementary? What's a good candidate for doing this? I start thinking geographical location. I start thinking index. I start thinking about what needs the most improvements and what program we could put in there.
Let me add
Yes.
one other thing too, just to make sure. So, you know, one of the other pieces we looked at was like the size of the rooms and the educational, what was the word, efficiency or whatever? Adequacy, thank you, I could not come up with that word. But is that part of this evaluation with So that's some, we would then have to, if we saw a building we were concerned about, we would then have to look at that also.
Yeah, but that's easy to add in when you already have them going through that portion. Right now, like I said, what we're looking for on a regular basis is to help out maintenance, help out the capital planning, and help us move the buildings forward. I can bring another service in easily enough. They've already provided that. I can add that in if we need to.
What I've been imagining here is, this last bond was a Josh bond, it was all big construction and stuff like that. The next bond is gonna be a David bond, which is gonna be more about fixing the stuff that we have, keeping things going, and all those other needs that we haven't really addressed as well as we should have, because we're focusing on big construction.
But also, again, be careful with the bond piece. What we can do is with a healthy general fund, anybody else walks in, first thing I see when I see a healthy general fund, I'm gonna look at your first oldest building and see how well you've been maintaining. Because if you've got a healthy general fund, it means you haven't been spending somewhere else. So we had to do something to save money. So the first thing you do is you go to look at that and see what the worst case is.
Just been efficient, Josh.
I appreciate that, yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. But we know that, to try to make it, to extend the life of certain buildings, you may be trying to hold back, on that maintenance. So what we're saying is, with a heavy general fund, we could go ahead and start attacking that HVAC need and start taking care of it. Instead of waiting until we get to a bond piece, we could actually start carving this off. And that's what that long-range planning is to try to do.
Yeah.
We brought, and I've been saying, throw out different numbers. 1 year, maybe this is 1.7. Next year it could be 7. We bring whatever's gonna be pushing into that roadmap and then bring that forward. And like I said, roadmap, not blueprint, because a roadmap means that we may have to make 2 different decisions next year, or something could happen and go, you know what, now it's catastrophic, we gotta step over and take care of a certain road.
So I know the main benefit here is the planning piece. Is there any potential for cost savings as well, because we would then be more informed and be able to address issues before they became catastrophic, and therefore, prevention is usually less expensive than.
Absolutely, and maybe not even necessarily, let's step over that. I think you're starting to allude into programmatic disruption. So let me give you one example. One thing that we've done in the past is we bring a company in and they do scanning of electric panels. So take the face off, IR, and they run down through there. They can see which breaker is getting too hot or which one's about to burn out. At Trinity, they did that. We pulled that assessment. We only did the high schools that year. Pulled back and they said, you have one, and they rate everything, good, bad, what, so you gotta do this now. And so we had one pop up at Trinity. That breaker was about $5,000. It's not one you run down to Home Depot and pick up, on a whim and go put that thing in. I think it took us 3 months to get it. It took us another couple months because we didn't want to shut the entire campus down and change that one breaker. So imagine if we were, and when's it gonna happen? It's not gonna happen in May, May 28th, right? It's gonna happen the day of start, the middle of, something like that. That's when it's gonna go. So we were able to schedule that, get that breaker out, put the other one back in, power everything back up. Nobody none the wiser. Something like that goes too. We're blowing out Lindsay's equipment and stuff like that as well. So would I say saving money? Yes, because we didn't blow up any of the IT stuff. Did I keep from interrupting the STAR or some sort of program? Yes, we did that too.
Well, it's the old, I remember one of, wrestlers saying, you don't wait on changing the water heater or you're doing your ceiling also.
Right.
And so by knowing when these things are ready to go, we can stay ahead of them.
So how are we doing it right now? We're not flying completely blind. So what are we doing?
Work orders, but David and I have been trying to get us out of reactive mode into more on the preventive side. So when we first did our work order system, look for PMs, found 6 PMs in the entire system, 3 of which were transportation, 2 were in hours. So when we moved the work order system over, now what are we up to? Do you have a number off the top of your head on PMs?
PMs?
Yeah. Yeah. So now they were doing the work, they weren't tracking it. So now what we're trying to do is track the work, know which ones, and then our computer, our CMS will start helping us show we're about to have those failures. We're looking at another system that has AI built into it, does even better than what we're doing now. And so it's really, honestly, a lot of that's reactive. What we'd like to do is get it from there and actually project.
So what would this facility condition assessment do that we can't do?
It would show us everything, whereas we're waiting for something to break or have to go out and assess. The guys,
you're seeing patterns on post-work orders.
Yes, we're looking at post. What we'd like to do is actually go out and have a snapshot. If you're driving down the highway and you you see the cop pull up, do you know you're speeding, or are you speeding? You look at your dash, right? We don't have a dashboard that shows us all that. That's what we want to get to, is to have the dashboard that tells us where we're at right this second on everything.
But we're bringing in the diagnosis, because like I said, our HVAC, I was just saying Adobe, it means like, they're just constantly trying to fix things, so we don't have anyone to send out to do the evaluation, so that we can try and stay ahead of the repairs instead of always reacting. So it's just trying to be a little more proactive, or a lot more.
And again, being a roadmap, I know where I'm going to go, but then data can come in and can help us make that shift quicker. But right now, we don't know unless it either breaks or the computer starts to, on our post work orders, start to say you got a problem.
So when we have a technician or a plumber, say for my world, out working on an HVAC unit, while they're there, they have it open. Are they checking everything out and making notes and reporting back to some central system saying, here are some potential, recommended, because we do that for our customers, right? When we go out, maybe the capacitor is big, but the motor's also pulling too many amps. If we know it's gonna go out pretty soon, but it's not got out yet, but we're checking that, we're letting the customer know, and we can at that time replace it, or, at least we know that that's gonna be something that's coming up.
That's what they're supposed to be doing, yes. But like what you're doing for the customer is exactly what we're asking you to do for us. And that is, you've gone in there and assessed that whole unit, that capacitor could be bad, fan motors run leak, you're pulling too much draw. We don't know that on the entire district. You're doing it on one person's unit there.
So, so that's a level of specificity that I wouldn't expect to get from this report. I would expect them to go around and document the age of the unit, the general condition of the unit. But I'm not thinking that if we hire an architecture firm or engineering firm, they're gonna take every unit apart, check every capacitor, motor, and the condition of the heat exchanger and the blower.
Not all of that, but I'm saying on that, that method of what you're talking about is exactly what we're looking for, is to be able to pull. Our guys, they may know all that information, but which unit is it a Goodman or is it a Carrier that's working better right now. We do 1994 Carrier units they would split the coils, and you knew to get those out of the way quickly. We now use a lot of Aeons because we know the durability of that, and so that's where we're needing that expert piece to come back into us and to help us out with that.
I think you get more expertise from your guys working with their hands and machines than you're gonna get from some third-party evaluator.
Well, I think for the piece that they get to, I think we just have so many units, and so they're going to the ones that are not running already. But if we can get an evaluation, stay ahead of it, David's talked to us, and we've moved money twice, so David can get ahead of units, and we just really need to get a good idea how many are coming out, so we can properly budget, and then get that replacement schedule in place.
So what's the next step?
Next step would be to finish the RFQ, do our evaluations, and then for you to let us know what your feels are about us being able to move forward and execute this.
Like time-wise?
Yes.
Or what's the time?
You're asking me if it was mine, I would do it right now. Because every bit of me not having information is less that I can help direct. Us to Q's. What's that?
We expect to bring a recommendation at the June board meeting.
Okay.
We had 20 responses, and they can be rather lengthy. Involved, let's put it involved rather than lengthy. Because this is very sophisticated information that we're going to learn, and we'll evaluate those, rank those, and then conduct an interview process of the top firms to get to a recommendation.
All right, and then we can bring it, we can look at what we want done. All right, David.
Yay. Here's David. All right. Why am I dead?
heavy maintenance operations. Interesting conversation with replacement. This is something that I've been working on, and to be honest, I mean, we have some vintage buildings, you know, that need a lot of hugs, and we give them a lot of hugs. We do, and but the thing with the RTUs, as we were talking about, it's not just, oh, this one's 30 years old. There's a lot of that. The thing is, getting parts is becoming near impossible for some of these. And then the federal government changes the refrigerator requirements about every 6 days, right? So we've got units that may have run on Freon, then they went to R22, and then they go to A6, or whatever they go to. And so that's just constantly something we gotta keep up with all the time. Some of the things in October came to you and gave you a list of all the things that we were gonna do this year. These are the things we got accomplished. The first one, RTU replacement. Hurst Junior High, like Dr. Harrington said, got $1 million, and we replaced 1/3 of those RTUs. Currently, we got another 1.7 million, and we're replacing the rest of them. Hurst Junior High, we chose it because the units were old, and we were having trouble finding parts, and they were taking up a lot of our manpower to go up there and constantly run it, and there was a disruption of programming, right? And so we're knocking that building out. What's nice about that is we're gonna have that building completed by the end of the summer, and now we'll be able to look and say, okay, what's our ROI? What are we really getting? Because we have a building that's 100% brand new, Aeons, state of the art. Let's see what it's given us, right? Now, y'all know that when we take RTUs, you have to put them on a building with a helicopter. It's a to-do, right? So how we strategically plan those going up is part of that cost. You know, you don't want to have helicopters around 9 buildings around the district, right? So we want to knock those out in a strategic manner. So I've looked at the RTUs and just throw a ball. And you can find one that needs to be replaced because we have thousands of them. And we are, Dr. Harrington and Dobie and y'all have done a great job in giving us the things we need to get these things taken care of. Because y'all know as well as I do. And what keeps me up at night? July. And it's coming, right? Because these buildings are going to get used, and people don't like, they get cranky when it's not 72 or 71. If it's 73, we got to call off the day, right? So we want to avoid that. So we're taking care of the HVAC, RTUs. That's our biggest piece, by far, of anything we're dealing with. Playgrounds. Okay, so there's our RTUs and those that got taken care of. Playgrounds, y'all gave us some money for playgrounds. We replaced 5, playgrounds are expensive. Yep. I was very impressed with the price tag on a playground. You can buy a couple of Ferraris for a playground. And we needed them. We had some rough playgrounds, and we didn't need our little kids running around getting all chopped up from those mean playgrounds. So we got them. I got them, instead of buying brand new, we did refurb, which turned out pretty nice. This was one area that somebody had a little bit of a concern with, was these old posts. They stayed, and so those are powder coated, and it is very, very difficult, if not impossible, to find a mobile powder coating company. They don't like to do that. So if anybody wants a business idea, mobile powder coating. And so, but in most cases, they came out really nice. We've knocked those out. We're going to do 5 more this next year, and that's going to take us, I think we'll only have 4 more after that, and we'll have taken care of all the old, the vintage campuses. Restroom partitions, bang for your buck right here. This is it. Look how, that looks great. I wish I had some before pictures, because these were not good. They were rusted, they were disgusting. We did this, and I am a little proud of this. My first year here, we contracted one campus. I think you've heard me say this, one campus.
We contracted with the company, replaced those for $110,000. Since then, I said, this is something we can do on our own. Since then, we're doing it completely in-house at a cost of $30,000 per campus.
Yay!
So we've knocked out 5 campuses for the cost of 1. We're doing 5 more this year, and that's it. We're done. These things are supposed to last between 25 and 30 years. They're supposed to be somewhat indestructible. When I was a junior high principal, if you want to test indestructible, put them in a junior high.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing. And so they are having a hard time banging them up, scratching them up, breaking them down. So these things should last us as long as these buildings will. I like this one. This is a good one. Drinking fountains and water heaters, Josh was talking about it a little bit. We have cycled through some of these buildings many times, but we did 15 this year on a couple of campuses. This is an ongoing cycle. We'll do this again every year until when we get to the end, it'll be time to run them back. Benches. Here you go, Chris. Got some benches. How about that? We got some benches.
Yes. When are the ones that, the rusty and sharp ones that they're being replaced, when are they going to be removed?
They have not all been removed yet? Okay, well, I'll double check on that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. But, so, we've got new benches. We did a district standard, black benches. They're covered with that rubber, vinyl stuff, and so look pretty good. And we're getting there. We'll get it done for you. I'm sorry about that. I thought we were done with that. Oh, and then new signs, our parking lot. Our parking lots, these signs, we don't like pink stop signs. You know, we got rid of those. We did
People
some.
don't pay attention to that no left turn out of Meadow Creek, no, they just don't.
But it's
At least
fun.
have a sign.
It's fun to put up a sign. This one either. Please pull forward. No. Okay. So also we've also taken on, I've added a small paint crew that we're doing parking lot striping on our own. Because when I first got here, we knocked out Pennington, and I thought we could do that ourselves. So we did, got us a little drivable painter thingy, and we can stripe the parking lots, and we can paint the curbs, make them red instead of pink. And it all looks fantastic because the eye, the optics, the eyes of our constituents are what matter on these external things. Viridian portables. This is also one of my projects, and as a matter of fact, tomorrow I'm going to meet with the developer and the HOA of Viridian because we're moving a couple of portables into that school. Stay tuned. That's an ongoing situation, but it's positive because we've got the buildings that we found a vendor. We could not use any of our current portables because if you've been in Viridian, you see how narrow those little streets are, and they've got the little roundabout thingies and all that. We could not get a 24-foot wide building through those. We just couldn't do it. So we found a vendor that breaks them in half, 12 feet, and we can put them in there like that. We're going to put them together in a parking lot, move the fencing. We're not, Viridian's covenant says no metal buildings, so we're going to put a hardy backer on the side, and we're going to paint it to match the building. So the HOA and the developer are happy with that, and tomorrow I'll bring them what we've got, and they should be good. We should be good to go.
Does that change in size affect the capacity?
No, because when you put them together, they're 24 by 64.
Okay.
Same size. Yeah, it's just easier to move them around.
Okay.
Roof repairs. We do have one roof that is a concern at Hurst-Euless Junior. It's very thin, and when you start looking at energy costs, things we're losing through the roof. This is one that you will probably be seeing me bring you in October as something we need to do.
and then paving of parking lots.